Hello, everyone, and welcome to the backstage pass of successful early childhood leaders. We're pulling back the curtain of the what, the how, and the why they do what they do to get these transformative results. I'm Chani Wolshansky, your host, and I'm excited to have here with us today Naomi Smith. Naomi is the Director of Academics for Torah Academy and the Jewish Preschool of the Arts in New Orleans, Louisiana. And today we're going to talk about how self-care, self-awareness has truly impacted the way that she's shown up for herself, for her team, and for her family. Naomi, thank you so much for being here, and I'm really excited to dig into this conversation today.
Thank you.
So let's take a little trip down memory lane all the way back to last year in June, before you joined us at the live event in New York. What was going on in your school at that time?
Basically, we were growing very quickly, and we had grown very quickly, and we were having those growing pains, and I knew I needed to learn more to be able to do more. And so that's why I went to the conference.
Yeah. And so the conference was 2 days. There was a lot going on, a lot of content, a lot of jamming in and stuff. And so when you came back from the conference, you joined our Director's Inner Circle, and we've been working together since then. What has been for you the smallest action that you've taken that maybe was like the simplest, but has given you such exponential gains since joining us in June?
Let me think on that one.
Yeah.
I think that the thing that's really been a big change for me is there was a statement that was made, and I don't remember who said it at the conference, but someone said something about whatever's going on in your school, if it's like a positive thing or a negative thing, if it's like this thing that's prevalent in the school, you need to look at yourself. And those are not the exact words, but it was something to that effect that made me think, I am really like the catalyst. I'm the thing driving the school. And that was a really big shift in my perspective. Yeah. And since then, I've been focusing a lot on self-care and, taking care of myself so that I can take care of others.
Yeah.
That's, we talk about that all the time. I talk to my teachers about it, but I wasn't really doing it for myself.
Yeah. So, and I love this piece over here because I think all the different speakers were sharing that, and that was like a big theme of the conference in that way, of how, whatever's happening in your school is just this reminder of just a reflection of who you are. And so a phrase that I heard recently that I think really sums up what you're saying right now is the school leader is the emotional thermostat of the entire organization. And where your emotional well-being is at any given moment during the day is what you're going to be seeing in the school. And I think that's terrifying and also a huge privilege, both at the exact same time, A
lot of responsibility.
Yeah. So let's go into, I know that you as a person are on this incredible journey, and I just meeting you last year in June and just talking to you now, you're just a completely different person, a completely different individual. The way you show up is just so differently. And I don't even see you in person, even just through these calls, I see how you're showing up so differently. And I think a lot of it stems from how you've shifted that focus of, I really need to take care of me. And so can you let's try to peel that onion a little bit, because I think self-care has become a buzzword that isn't being used properly anymore, and especially in school leadership. So could we just peel a little bit of what does self-care look like? You're a mom, you've got young kids at home. Let's unpack that a little bit here.
Well, I'll tell you that in the self-care process, I did have to, I had to think about myself, which is a foreign thing, but I had to identify, what needs that I have that were not being met, because that is impacting my staff. And so what I realized is I didn't have any time for myself. So I did do a lot of focus on time blocking from the meeting, and I did collect all the data meticulously for over 2 weeks. Good. And that really gave me an idea that helped me pinpoint, it's the time. I don't have any time for myself. I am just taking care of other people's needs constantly, and I'm going to burn out if I keep going.
Yeah.
So then I started to build time in for myself. So now I build in time after teacher meetings. I have reflection time for myself. I have note-taking time for myself. I've been locking my door. I close my door. I tell my secretary when I need to, don't come in don't come in at all, because if the building's burning down, the fire alarm is going to go off.
I'll know, yeah.
So, but I think a big part of self-care is really just taking the time to think about yourself and think about your practice and how you feel. So, for example, in my school, we had a big issue that I wanted to work on, which was clutter. There's clutter collecting. And I'll tell you, this is one of the ones that really, it's hard to look at yourself. It's hard to say, maybe I need to set a better example with clutter. Maybe
Wait, I want to pause for a second before you move on, because this is huge. Okay. So let's start off with, so clutter is probably a huge sore spot for anyone that's listening to this, because as an owner, as a director, when you run tours, clutter is the first eyesore that parents see. And when parents are coming in for the first time, you want to make the best impression possible, right? That's why I always clean up before mother-in-law comes, clean up before guests come, because clutter is a bad impression, right? Now, what I love what you just said, and here's why I want to pause and repeat this for anyone that didn't pick up on it. You noticed clutter was a problem, but before you ask the question, how do I get them to clean up the clutter? You said, what did you say?
Maybe I need to focus on clutter myself and set the example.
Oh my gosh, I love this. That's why I had to repeat that, because I think it's huge. Okay, I'll let you continue.
It was really, it's such a tiny thing, but it was life-changing for me as far as perspective, because it changed my perspective. It made me say, it helped me to realize the little things we do in just who we are and how we show up and what we do, that impacts the school so greatly in a positive way. Like my personality or the things that I'm good at, that impacts the school in a positive way.
Yes.
So do our weaknesses. And if there's something like, you want to really work on decreasing clutter in your school, I would say that the first step is to say, what does your office look like,
So let's walk through that. When you asked yourself that question, what was the next step? Because asking the question is scary part one. Kind of executing on the answer to that question is terrifying moment two. So,
well, I can tell you it's not a quick, these things they're habits, they're habitual.
Yes, exactly.
So there's no quick fix, right? It doesn't like, did I clean my office like right then and there? Yes, I did like do the first cleanup, but that's not the problem. It's the habitual aspect of it. It's creating routines for yourself. At the end of every day, I make sure my desk is clear now.
Yes.
And am I perfect? Does it happen? Like, is there ever a day where it doesn't happen? Of course. Sure. But I know where I am now, like it's been great. And the school is much more clutter free.
Wow. Okay. We need to unpack this, because I love this, Naomi. And this is I'm hearing this for the first time also. So this is an aha moment for me, and just realizing again, the power of the habits and systems, right? And so we have these cluttered offices, we have cluttered counters, or maybe our file cabinets are cluttery or whatever it is. And it's so hard to hold up the mirror and say, 1 second, what I'm seeing in my school is what because it's like, with my daughter, she's starting to show signs of like that she's a little anxious about something, or she was nervous about going somewhere. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. And then my husband and I were talking about it, because we were like, what should we do? Should we call in, someone to kind of observe her, see if we need to do, some more help or whatever it is? And Mary's like, look, here's the bottom line. You're an adult right now, and you've mastered so much of the things that you're concerned about or worried about or whatever it is. But if you think about yourself 2-3 years ago, you're always worrying about stuff. Like, you're always stressing at this and that and that and that kind of thing. And he's like, that is mirroring, and she's kind of picking up on that because she's most similar to me, right? And it was such an aha moment for me to realize how, okay, if I really want to help my daughter, yes, I need to bring in outside help as well. But I need to look at how I'm showing up, and am I stressing too much in front of my kids? Am I worrying too much about every little thing? Because she's seeing that. So when we talk about habits and routines, and this is what Linda Fogg is going to be talking about at the live event, is what is the habit that you want to see your teachers doing more of? Well, first, let's focus on how we're going to make that habitual for you. And then how are we going to teach that to your teachers? So I really appreciate your honesty, Naomi, because I think it's hard to say this because we all want to show this beautiful side of ourselves, but that's what the backstage is all about over here. Like, this is the beautiful side, because this is the side where I'm realizing how much more I could be on the other side when I work on these little things. So I just want to thank you for doing that, because
of course,
it's transformative to whoever is watching. So I love that, clutter, please. So take us to some of the other things where you're a mom of young kids. I know, like anyone else that's watching, just wants to get home on time, wants to be with their family. Tell us some of the little micro changes and shifts that you've done to be more present for your family.
Well, I will say that when we first started, I was staying at work. When we first started the program at Torah, and with the early childhood, we started there, and I was staying until 6 every day, and I have 2 small children, like very small, and that was too much, and yeah. I was definitely burning out, and I wasn't able to really come home and be present, because I was working with children until 6 o'clock in addition to all of my director work. And I will say that I just made a decision that we have to always be overstaffed. Always. We are always overstaffed, and I am always hiring. And those are some ways that I have been able to free up a little bit of time for myself. So I am never filling in unless it's a true emergency. I'm not going to be in the classroom unless I'm observing. Emergencies happen, they do, but they happen less when you have
more staff.
Yep. So, and I'm always hiring, and that has been very helpful. And I also recently implemented some things which we've talked about, which are just kind of shifting gears when you get home.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've been doing. I go and I water my plants whenever I get home.
We chatted about that, yeah. Tell us why you do that.
So
what I need trigger or activate for you.
So gardening is, it's a hobby. It's something I'm passionate about. Yeah. It's a way of creating art for me. And so it's something that I really have come to love in the last few years. Wow. And so it's a relaxing thing, but it's also a time to be alone. So I take a few minutes, I go water the plants, and before I do that, I change clothes. So my husband actually had suggested that, to kind of have basically just, it doesn't have to be changing clothes, but just to have something that helps you switch gears.
Yes.
Work is over. Now I'm focusing on the kids.
Yeah.
I might work again after they're asleep for a little bit, but
yeah. And this is so interesting, because Todd is going to be talking about this at the live event, where he was coaching this military guy who worked in the Navy, and this guy kept saying how, like, as hard as he tried, he kept bringing this Navy SEAL and this drill sergeant into the household, and he also had young kids, and it bothered him how he ran his house like a Navy ship. And Todd he said, I've tried to change my clothes. He said, but it still didn't help as much. Like, it helped a little, but not as much. And so Todd had told him, put on a baseball cap, put on something that really activates this side of you that reminds you, okay, I'm putting on this hat right now, not my Navy hat, not like, I'm putting on baseball cap, Dad. And now fun, energetic, loose, not as many rules, Dad, is going to show up right now. So I love that you're activating that part, because when someone's listening to this, they can think, oh, that's so silly, just changing your clothes. Like, how does that help? It does. And clothes cognition is real. Think about when you put on a gorgeous black dress and you get your hair done and you're wearing makeup, you are walking differently into that hall as opposed to, you know, sweats and, you know, a t-shirt or something like that. You're going to walk differently, period. So I love that you're doing that. I think it's so powerful. And again, small things, exponential gains. So I love that. So let's go into this. You came to our event last year. You've been a part of our inner circle, and I'm excited to see you again this year at the event. Tell us what is bringing you back this year. You know, what are you most looking forward to?
Oh, that's everything.
Okay. Yay.
So I want to say that actually going to the event, I think, was my first step in this self-care, self-awareness journey.
Yeah.
Because just making that step, you're making a commitment to yourself. You're saying, yes, I am making this investment. It's like an investment in yourself, and it really is life-changing. And so I am just really looking forward to all the new things that I'm going to learn. I'm looking forward to spending time with other professionals and just being able to spend time, no interruptions.
I love that part. Yeah.
Just thinking and working with like-minded people with no interruption. It's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah. And it's powerful. It's transformative because you're working on your business and on yourself more than anything else. And going away and working on yourself has a ripple effect that's hard to really quantify in so many different ways, because it just affects it permeates so many different parts of your being. So one of the things that we had chatted about beforehand and just, right before this call was how what you've learned at the live event and then throughout the inner circle, you have been translating into your personal life as well. So can you share with us just one or two of those things that are life skills? Because that's what the live event is about. It's leadership and skill development, not just, for being an owner or director.
I actually wanted to make that point for whoever's listening, that this is not a typical conference. So if you're an educator, you've attended lots of conferences, and I've been to lots of conferences, and this is not your typical situation where you're going to go and listen to some people and take some notes and go home. The practical, and then go home and like maybe implement it. But the practical application aspect of your program is just, it's amazing, because you definitely are going to implement it in your life because you're already doing the mental work at the conference. So
love that.
It's there. Even if you go home and you don't pick up your notes for 2 months, you've done so much mental work at the conference that you're going to see a difference in your life. So, and I would like to say that is personal to answer your question as well.
Yeah.
All of the changes, because I've been focusing on myself and self-care and self-awareness, it's impossible for those changes in me not to impact my family as well as my school family. And so I've definitely seen some positives as far as creating good habits at home. And when we were focusing so much on getting rid of clutter at school, we got rid of clutter at home.
Wow.
And my daughter came to me and said,
how old's your daughter?
She's 4.
Okay.
She came to me and she was cleaning up her stuffed animals. They go into the tent and she goes, Mom, do you think maybe we should give away some of these stuffed animals? I had not talked to her about this.
Wow.
On her own. So this is something like, I'm not talking to her about my work. I'm not talking to her about cleaning the house, other than, normal, like we have to clean up our toys, right? But I'm not talking with her about what I'm working on for myself, but she still picked up on it.
She is. And I think that, so again, just what you're saying over here, like what we were saying before, it's terrifying and it's a privilege at the same time, because if our kids pick up on the slightest thing that we're working on ourselves and becoming better at, that's amazing. But at the same time, it's like, 1 second. So all these bad habits, I have to really work hard to replace them with good ones that serve me and serve my life and serve the business and serve the school, because that's going to have a ripple effect on my marriage, on myself, on my kids, on everything. So I love that story. Thanks so much for sharing that, because again, she's 4 and look what she picked up on. So
yeah,
she's a smart cookie also. So let's go into just bringing everything full circle. Is what strategy or tip or hack or something have you used that has helped streamline some of the processes, or, you know, given some of your time back so you can focus on self-care with your staff? I know you had spoken about Google Forms. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So one of the things that we focused on at the last conference was creating systems with the 90-day goals. And that was something that we had started doing at school already, but very on a small scale. And after the conference, I really spent a lot of time analyzing all of our systems that were currently in place, where the holes were, what we should do. And one of the things that we did is we said, okay, if we look at the time blocking and we look at my self-care and we look at all of these things, what's taking the time away? It's people coming with questions. What types of questions are they coming with? So we looked at that and we analyzed that data and we said, okay, how can we make it where no one has to come to me if they need to purchase a supply, or if they can't find something, or if they're going to be absent, or if their sink is broken, you know, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
They don't need to come to me, because we have created these Google Forms, and it's very simple. It's just a regular old Google form. But what was the not so simple part is the training the teachers to use it.
Yeah.
So we've been doing that all year this year, and it's going very well. And of course, it takes time, and people need reminders.
Yeah.
But I just smile and say, did you do a form for that? Because I want to make sure that I get that in for you by Friday, and we order on Friday.
Yeah. And so for those of you that are watching, we're going to have in the show notes, in the comments here, access to some of the samples of Naomi's Google Forms that she uses, and also a little breakdown tutorial of how you can actually create that for your staff. But like Naomi was saying, the little caveat to that is knowing how to introduce this to your staff and how to follow up and understand that it's habit formation. And at our live event, that is something that we are going to be talking about as an umbrella of how do you introduce things to staff, how do you maintain those habits, and all of that. So the implementation part will come from joining us at the event, but here's a great tool just to help you get started with that. So bringing everything full circle, Naomi, I know that you had said something interesting, how there's so much mental work that's done at the live event. And so, you know, even if someone didn't pick up their notes, it's kind of in their body and in that way, or in their brain. And so someone who's thinking about joining us at the event and is thinking, wow, it's such a significant investment. It's time, it's money, it's time away from my family, it's time away from the school. What would you tell someone who's on the fence and is just thinking, I do really want this, but it's so much?
I mean, I think you won't regret it. Like, you'll just never regret it. So I think that anything that is this transformative, you're not going to regret it. And I think, you know, I wouldn't miss it. I'm so glad that I took that chance. You know, I took that risk. It feels risky, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And I love that you said it was a chance last year. It was a risk. You've never been to the event. You didn't know what to really expect in that way. But the bet paid off, as they say. Naomi, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for your time and just for sharing all these little insights and stories into what's going on and how you've really created that transformation in your school. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, honey.
All right, we clicked.